Alright, time for another video. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about today, but it's sunny outside. I didn't feel like listening to another podcast. I've got all the knowledge. Not all of it. Not even close. That is a giant Easter bunny. It's sunny, having fun. Man, that is a giant Easter bunny. You see that thing? Hopefully you saw that thing. I couldn't quite take the video of it. I mean, when you say giant Easter bunny, you tend to look. Anyways, maybe I'll talk about the NFT thing, non-fungible tokens. Beeple, who has a ridiculous Twitter image, just sold his digital art, his non-fungible token, for $69 million. I don't know if I should be happy for him or just have something in the pit of my stomach saying, why didn't you take art class more seriously? Well, it's probably because I can only draw stick figures. But is a non-fungible token, this digital art thing, a lot of people are saying, it's not worth $69 million. There's no way. It probably isn't worth $69 million. But what's interesting and amazing about it is that no one forced whoever won that, which wasn't Justin Tron, no one forced that person, whoever won it, to pay that money. They bid it on it, like an auction. I believe that's how it's set up. So it was decided purely on the market. Some people can't handle it. They can't deal with it. They can't fathom it. They even get upset about it. Maybe jealousy, maybe rage, lack of understanding, but they can't handle the fact that someone would spend that amount of money on something that they don't think is worth it or real. They can't handle that the market can provide. And you just gotta let people be free. I was talking to this guy today who spent some time in China, and you think we got it bad here in the States. You think we have it bad here in the United States. At least we have property. You know, once I pay my house off, which, you know, the banks, they have a lot of power in this country with the mortgages. Your whole life paying off a mortgage. But at least when you pay it off, it's your property to do what you want with it. Your house, your land, your cars. At least you own something. The guy I was talking to said the people in China, when you pay off your house, that goes back to the government after whatever, something like 99 years. So even if, let's say, you're older, you pay off your house, and you want to leave it to your children because it's your property, nope, can't do it. What you've been working for your whole life goes back to the regime, the government of China. Not only is it like not fair, kind of like economically, self-rights, it just sounds depressing. It just sounds, the state has so much power. The state ownership has so much regulatory burden over you. It just seems like daunting to live in a place like that. And maybe you don't know any better. Maybe that's just how the way you grew up and been conditioned to think that that's appropriate. It's not appropriate, and I don't think it's good for the humankind, the human nature. I really do think we're meant to be free. And another amazing thing about, like, you know, Austrian economics, free market economics, laissez-faire, Adam Smith, Murray Rothbard, Thomas Sowell, all these people promoting the free market, Friedrich Hayek, all these libertarian Austrian thought leaders. What's kind of amazing to me with this whole line of economic thinking is not only does it tell you nothing about how to live your life, it tells you nothing about how you should live your life, it tells you nothing about mandating a certain way of living, is that not only can you live your life freely and openly, and there are some soft, hard rules. Soft, hard, what do I mean by that? No killing, no hurting, no violence. As long as you don't commit those atrocities, you can live your life however you want. So not only is the free market, capitalism, telling you can kind of live the way you want, it ends up being the best economic success. So it's the best of both worlds. Why aren't people embracing this? So it's got not one, but two of the best of both worlds. If we were in a certain economic system where, okay, you're mandated to do a certain thing every day of your life, and it turned out to be glorious, okay, I guess people could see the way to do that. Or if you were mandated to live a certain way, it was horrible, but you ended up, in a beautiful home with a yacht. Okay, you can see that. But the reality is, when you have all these mandates and big government control, it ends up being one of the most poor ways to live. So you've got lots of mandates and certain people telling you what to do, lots of regulations, a very unfree society, both economically and socially, and you have poor economic conditions. So it's amazing that laissez-faire has both socially free policies and economically abundant riches. It's like a no-brainer to me for which one to choose. Do I want to be controlled and poor, or do I want to be free and rich? Not a very tough decision for this guy. So how does that relate to NFTs? I don't really know. I'm just kind of spewing. But how does that relate to NFTs? If someone wants to spend, some people's opinion would be waste, $69 million on a piece of digital art, who cares? Fine. Let them do it. Is it silly to me? Oh my God, yeah. It's extremely silly to me. But maybe it's not silly to them. Maybe they want to live their life a certain way. They don't have anything else to do but spend $69 million on digital art, non-fungible tokens. I think I'm going to create my own non-fungible token tonight. See if I can, make $69, because I'd be happy with that. After a half an hour of work, if I can make $69 in an NFT, I'd actually be happy. Let alone $69 million. If you're someone like Beeple, well, most likely he did this, I shouldn't say for fun, but it's his passion. I mean, who does art when it's not their passion? I couldn't imagine doing art if it wasn't my passion. So he most likely wasn't some super rich guy before this, and he's just doing something that he's passionate about, and it actually turned out great. It turned out to make him a millionaire. So instead of and I'll admit, when I see someone like that make $69 million, it's like, oh man, what I would do. But I'm proud of the guy, amazing. This guy, and that's kind of that rich mindset. Instead of being jealous of other people's accomplishments, be happy for them. They were able to create something that someone thought was a lot of value and got rich off of it. So not only was he following his passion, which the free market allows you to do, but he got rich off of it. And so you see these things a lot. You see these parallels a lot in life, and in just different economic ways of doing things. I mean, Elon Musk is probably a good example. following his pursuits, following his passion, and the guy's made a killing. The guy's been super rich. Now, not all your passions are going to turn out to be $1 million enterprises. I mean, I could be passionate about my music, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's not that good. So you got to have a certain amount of talent to take your passion places. But the point is that it's possible in a free market. Now, if beeple was living in somewhere like state where it's highly state regulated, like in China or the former USSR, or somewhere like, Cuba, Venezuela, Peru, people probably doesn't exist down there. And if they do exist, it's because they were able to break free of them. So when you see more free market conditions, you're going to see more people like people who follow their passions, create something of value, just get rich and just have a great time doing it. So I want to transition into, I've yet to make a video on Litecoin. I made a couple of these silly driving my car, going for a cruise, picking up my kids' videos, and maybe I've entertained you, maybe I've given you some knowledge. And I made a pretty in-depth Plan B Bitcoin chart analysis video. But tonight I think I'm going to make a Litecoin video. Things are happening for Litecoin. We are adding Litecoin and the developers are adding their fifth element. What do I mean by the fifth element of money? Bitcoin has great fundamentals. Litecoin has similar fundamentals. Some of the parameters were changed, as you know. The 64 million hard cap, 84 million hard cap, my mistake, sorry. 21 times 4 is 84. So 84 million Litecoin hard cap. And so Bitcoin has things like limited amount, it's got the transactions, it's got the mining, it's got a lot of sound money qualities. Now, if you read those Austrian books, or even if you read like Saifedean or someone like that, they talk about like elements or qualities of different sound money. And I wish I should have memorized them for this video. But it's things like stock to flow, limited amount, subjective value. And there's one thing that Bitcoin doesn't, it has a little bit of it, but not fully. So it's called fungibility. And the best way to describe fungibility to me is old school cash. You know, those green pieces of paper with presidents on them. That's the best way to describe fungibility to me. So you go to buy some ice cream, and instead of using your credit card or debit card, where the bank knows your information, the merchant probably knows your information, the credit card knows your information, how much you spent, where you spent it, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but you know, it's trackable, it's tracing. But if you use cash, a $10 bill, no one really has any idea that you spent it. It's just not in your wallet anymore, and it's just floating out there in the ethos. So that's what fungibility kind of means. It means, does someone know you spent it? Does someone know how much you spent? And can someone track the movement of that money? Because when you use a credit card, you know, that money gets debited from your credit card. It goes to the bank, and the banks have their own data systems. And it's basically, that amount of money can be tracked or traced to see whose hands it's going into. And for reasons I'm not going to get into, that's not great. You don't always want someone else to know how much money you're spending on things. Maybe you spent a big purchase on a boat. You don't necessarily want the public to know how much you spent on that boat. Maybe you want it more private. So that's what Litecoin is going to accomplish in T-minus, my date's wrong, like 3 days. I think today's the 11th. In 4 days, on March 15th, Litecoin is adding MWEB, or more precisely, it's called MWEB, MWEB extension blocks. I'm not going to get into the technicality of it, the coding, because I don't know. But basically, it's like that cash analogy I just used. You're going to be able to send receive, spend, use your Litecoin, and no one is going to be able to trace it and track it. That could present some problems. Do I want to get into that? Let's focus on the positives, because there's always economic trade-offs, as we know. Bitcoin, the economic trade-off is it's expensive, it's slow to send transactions. Right now, my suggested transaction from a wallet that I use, and then I send it to cold storage, the suggested one is $30. And if I do that little sliding scale for less bytes to send it, it's like something like $15. Now that's pretty high. I looked at the transaction chart. That's pretty high right now. I'm gonna see to wait if I can get it under $10, because it's not that much. I have a little bit in that wallet, and I want to send it to my cold storage. I don't want to waste $30 on one transaction, or the whole transaction I think is only like $200 or $300. So it's just like, I don't want to waste on that. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Anyways, with Litecoin, the MWEB, the fungibility, it does improve that, or what I've read, it does improve that transaction cost a little bit. But what it really does is no one really knows that you spent it. So do you know how when you send a Bitcoin or Litecoin transaction, you can click that little link? I think it's called like a transaction hash or transaction ID. There's different ones around there. Anyways, you can click on it, and things like confirmations will come up. You know, is it 0, 1, 2, 3, 6, 1,000? And you can kind of like see the different wallets that were used in that transaction. You can see the sending, you can see the receiving, and then if it was batched by a company or something else, you can see all the different wallets that were used in that transaction. And then you can click on the wallets, and then you can kind of like click around and just kind of follow the money. Now that's kind of nice sometimes with like transactions, and we're going to see how MWEB plays out. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like on the other side, but basically, if someone wants to track your money to see, because if you receive a transaction of Bitcoin or Litecoin, you can click on that wallet that was sent to you, the wallet that was used the money to send to you. You can click on that wallet, and you can see how much Bitcoin is in that wallet. That's not necessarily a great thing for things like Big Brother. If they want to click on your Bitcoin wallet, they can see how much total Bitcoin you have. You don't necessarily want that, especially with what's coming down the pike, maybe. Not to get too conspiracy driven, but you know, it's probably not a great thing for people to know how much Bitcoin you have or how much Litecoin you have. So now, as my understanding is, with this MWEB, this fungibility, people are going to click that little wallet, that little transaction ID, and it's going to give you, maybe it'll give you confirmations, but it's going to give you minimal information about how much Litecoin or Bitcoin is in that transaction. And that's important. It's one of those sound qualities of money that I was talking about. It limits other people, other agencies, maybe even other companies to track your spending. And more than just the reasons that I gave, it's a good thing for sound money to have that. And Litecoin is not the first one. There was that Grin that didn't take off. It's not the first one, but it's the biggest one. Well, dang it. No, it is the biggest one. So as far as I know, I think it's being added as a second layer, or maybe even a side chain to Litecoin. And so it's the biggest cryptocurrency that is going to have an element of fungibility, or an element of fungibility, in the top 10. So it's the biggest cryptocurrency that has fungibility, private fungibility in the top 10. Now there's other coins like Monero that is also fungible, private, but for some reason that coin never did take off. And so one of the negatives could be you don't really see Monero a lot on different exchanges because it's untraceable, it's untrackable. So for exchanges that need to do the KYC, AML, that's not always a great thing. It doesn't jive well. So that's why in the beginning of this video I said how there could be some negatives. Now that's not a negative with the protocol of Litecoin itself. It's just a negative in terms of we'll see if exchanges keep Litecoin. I really hope they do because it might tank without it. We'll see if exchanges keep Litecoin on their exchange to buy and sell, because if it's kind of going against the ethos of KYC, AML, we'll see how that plays out. And to my knowledge, they'll keep it on there because the way that MWEB is being rolled out, the way it's going to be implemented into the Litecoin protocol is through a side chain, is through second layer. Not exactly sure how it works, but I think this is how it's going to work. You're going to have certain wallets, like the Lite wallet. It's a popular Litecoin wallet that's going to implement that ability, that power that Litecoin has to kind of activate, toggle that button where it says, would you like this to be an MWEB transaction or a fungible transaction? And so you're going to be able to do that with certain wallets. So other wallets like Binance or BlockFi or Coinbase or Abra or whatever exchange you use, they're probably not going to implement the fungibility. I think that's how it's going to work. I could be wrong about all this stuff. I think that's kind of how it kind of works. And the way to think about that is this is exactly like SegWit. Some companies, some wallets have the ability to use segregated witness wallets, and there's an easy way to remember. I think it's like if it starts with BC or something like that, it's a segregated witness wallet, and then if it starts with like a number, it's not. So I believe there's a way to figure out which wallet you have. So what I'm saying is certain exchanges are probably not going to implement the fungibility aspect of Litecoin's MWEB, and then certain wallets, like more like developer-driven wallets, are going to. Like I would expect Litecoin's own wallet, the Lite wallet, to implement fungibility. And so, is it going to make a huge difference in the Litecoin protocol? It might. Like I said, it's the first cryptocurrency in the top 10 currently that has this fungibility. And if certain scenarios play out where you do need to keep your transactions private and secure, Bitcoin's not going to have it. And I know, never criticize the king, but for reasons above me, Bitcoin may never do the fungibility MWEB improvement or something similar, because they are so concerned, they are so consumed, rightfully so, to keep Bitcoin almost exactly the same as it has now. They may never implement something like MWEB, and I see that as one of the. This is one of the reasons I have Litecoin. This is one of the reasons I believe in Litecoin, because sometimes these improvement protocols, Bitcoin simply can't do, because they want to make sure that Bitcoin is not going to self-destruct. It's never going to be unsecure. It's never going to waver. Let's not tinker with the code. And I see that's a positive. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. We're not going to change it too much. It's going to be strong. We're not going to mess it up. We're not going to be too experimental. And that's a good thing. And now we have Litecoin, where it can be a little bit more aggressive. It can do some more experimental stuff. Not a ton. Let's not be Ethereum changing our proof of work to proof of stake. burning coins. I'm not here to bash Ethereum. I just don't see it as I just don't like the way they do things. Maybe it'll work. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm much more slow, methodical, like a Bitcoin standard. But, Jesus, people, I'm driving here. All right, I gotta go. But anyways, Litecoin can be more aggressive, and I see that as a good thing. Bitcoin can't. I also see that as a good thing. So let's see how it plays out. I think MWEB is going to do great things for Litecoin. Litecoin pad out.